Okay, it is now 7:31 p.m. On June the 22nd of 2022. So why don't we go ahead and start meeting number 15. I call this meeting to order. We need a motion to accept minutes for the May 19th meeting. Thank you very much. Do we need a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. So can we go ahead and vote to accept the minutes? Accept? Wasn't here, so I abstained. The minutes have been accepted. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is reporting about any committee correspondence. And I wanted to take this opportunity and read a letter that I received at the end of May. Actually came to the joint account from a town resident by the name of Luann Crosby, who lives at 13 Cross Street. So she just wanted to be sure that we read it out loud at one of the meetings. Any objection to me reading this out loud? No? Oh, everyone's fine with this? Okay, so the letter is dated May 24th, 2022 to the Town Seal Review Committee. Although not from Westborough, I've lived here for 33 years, raising my daughter who attended Westborough High here and coming to appreciate our community. I've always been delighted with the historic nature of the town, something beautifully reflected in the historic architecture of the downtown village. I've even written a number of songs about Westborough, which some of you may have heard, including the 300th anniversary anthem, which I played at some town events in 2017. With that said, I am someone who would like to advocate for changing the town seal for a number of reasons, which many others have expressed and I won't reiterate in this communication. I'm writing because I have an idea for a seal that I think would be non-controversial and that everyone could support. This seal would incorporate a very important invention credited to our town and created by the member of a local family, a family who has lived and worked here for 300 years. That invention, of course, is the Norse Eagle plow. America's first farm plows were made in Europe and imported. None quite fit the bill when working on the land here in New England with its rocky soil and difficult tillage. In 1842, the Norse Eagle plow was designed and built by Westborough's Joel Norse and became the best-selling plow in the country for over a decade. Due to its importance, a Norse Eagle plow is currently in the Smithsonian Museum of American History. There are two images of this on the attached sheet, which I will send around as soon as I finish reading the text. Here's a rendering from the time. What better symbol to appear on our town seal? Something designed and created by a Westborough resident, something that benefited New England agriculture, something that's a part of our history, but also something part of our present day, representing a commitment to place and to community. The Norse farm settled and began the working farm here in 1722, 5 years after Westborough incorporated in 1717, which means the farm is celebrating its 300th anniversary this year. What better time to adopt a new seal that we can all be proud of? Signed, Luann Crosby, 13 Cross Street. I'm going to send this around so you can check out the images. Do we want to discuss this letter, or are there any other letters that anybody would like to bring to our attention?
I looked again at the, it was another email address that had existed back in January. I took a quick look 2 days ago, looked again this morning, there was nothing, so, and so I haven't received anything else.
I haven't seen anything either other than this one since May. Thoughts on Luann's letter?
Well, really, I believe that that's more going to be for a referral to a design committee.
Right.
It's not our place to discuss that. I think it's an intriguing idea and an alternative from a historical standpoint, but it's not within the purview of what we're doing.
Well, isn't it within our purview to issue a recommendation on the process for changing the seal, and we could certainly throw in an idea?
Well, no, but that absolutely.
Right.
Yes, that we would forward that on with our recommendation to another committee.
Right.
But in terms of whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it's not necessarily something that we're supposed to be discussing.
Right, but I guess we wouldn't recommend it as a committee if we didn't like it. Right?
I would certainly want to include it
Yeah,
in whatever
like that.
bundle of documents that we send, if there's another committee that is ultimately set up, I think we should definitely include it.
I like this idea a lot, and I do like what she's pointing out is sort of this is the year that Norse Farm, who went to that celebration? That was lovely.
It was fun.
A cow gave birth, apparently. This is all over Facebook right now that a cow was
Oh, I
giving-
was there.
Oh, that's
I was
so
there when
fun.
the cow was born.
When
Yeah.
was
Oh
it?
my gosh.
It's amazing, but He still hadn't stood up when we left. I really wanted to wait until he was standing up, but he wasn't standing up yet.
Oh, no, that just got dark.
But it was,
When was the celebration?
what?
When was this celebration?
That was
This past
Saturday
weekend,
and
Saturday.
Sunday, and the calf was born Sunday, Saturday afternoon, Saturday.
Okay. All right, sounds great. If there's nothing else to say, we can move on to the next point on the agenda, which is review and edit parts 1 to 4 of the committee report to the town meeting. I am really hoping you can all catch me up on what's been happening there.
So at the May 19th meeting, it's in the minutes, we had agreed to create the 4 points on the agenda: the history of the issue, the committee's charge, a description of the process of gathering public information, and an analysis of information that was gathered. And we had a shared Google Doc, which was all a draft. And the committee was then charged with, each of us was charged with trying to put together a piece of that. And members of the committee were invited to go edit that draft. And that is on a Google Doc that we all have. And I don't know what you would like to do here, Paula. I would suggest that we perhaps read through it. That might make the most sense, and then,
Right.
and then perhaps have everyone comment as we proceed through it. The copy that everyone has in front of them, I printed that around 12 noon today. Now, I know, Dan, I saw just before we started the meeting, I saw that you had done some edits sometime this afternoon. So those are not on this sheet. So you could just, what I would suggest is you just make those edits, or let us know what those edits are as we proceed.
Okay.
Okay, excellent.
So that's what I'd suggest.
Right, that sounds great. I still don't have access to that shared Google Doc. I know what you're talking about because I've seen the link, but every time I click on the link, it asks me to ask for permission, which I do, and then it still doesn't give me access. So this is super helpful because we can do this in real time on paper and then sort of put it together into the final shape, right? Why don't we just take it in order? History of the issue. Do we need a minute to read through this, to take a look if any changes need to be made?
Do we,
Oh, this goes from 1 to 3. There's no 2.
does it
I
not
think
go?
2 is the mission statement.
Yeah, 2 should be.
Oh, 2 should be the mission statement, okay. So 1 is just history of the issue. Voters at Westborough's May 15th, 2021 annual town meeting approved an article establishing the creation of a town seal review committee to be appointed by the town moderator. The town voted to establish a town seal review committee consisting of a minimum of 7 and a maximum of 9 residents appointed by the moderator. So that's the same language we used, right, in the report. Then all of our names, just make sure that your name is spelled correctly.
And is moderator capitalized to answer?
It should be.
Okay.
Should be, okay.
The moderator.
So just before, as we're going, is it okay if I make any changes that we're
Yeah,
talking about in the
do you
Google
mind?
Doc?
I was gonna do it on my pattern on my machine.
That's a great idea. So capitalize moderator, and then before Eric's name, there should be a space.
Yeah, I've added that.
Okay, great.
Added the,
Period after member.
yep, and then a break.
Uh-huh. Okay, and Ian Delahanty is the secretary. Okay, great.
Should there be commas after the first 2 names, between the names and the co-chair title?
Yep.
Is this something potentially that would be in the, like, printed for people at town meeting to see?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could do
Yeah,
a booklet or a report.
in the interest of being succinct, it could be just referred to there. No one needs this read to them, but if it was at their fingertips, it would be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be nice if we had something out at
Yeah.
town meeting.
So I don't see anything else. You know what? Actually, in the title where it says 1 history of the issue, probably shouldn't be a hyphen after 1. Oh, and then actually, yeah, and then any
Yeah, no,
volunteer
that's all
yeah,
this,
that's
yeah,
just a note.
taken out. That's all that.
Just drawing Eric's Ian's attention to
Yeah,
this as he's editing.
Yep.
Other than this, I don't see anything else that needs to be edited. Anyone else in section 1? Great, moving on to section 2, committee's charge or mission statement. So I guess add number 2. And just for the sake of preserving the formatting, either make this one be in italics or
Yep.
take out italics from the first. The Westborough Town Meeting created these 4 charges for the Westborough Town Seal Committee, including to consider whether or not the town should adopt a new town seal after a public process that shall include 1, consultation with a diverse group of stakeholders, 2, to hold multiple public forums, 3, provide a report and recommendation to a future town meeting. Should there be a colon after that or not? I think there should be semicolons right after all of the 1 through 3.
Dan's
No, there shouldn't be
question,
anything, just 1, 2,
Yeah.
3,
Dan's
4.
question in the
Okay.
You
document
don't need
was,
any punctuation.
Okay,
but is this the precise language of the charge, or is this a paraphrase?
No, this is the precise
Okay.
language of the charge.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had edits to those. You know, like for example, making the 4 points start with a noun, right? For
I see.
consistency, but I wasn't
Consultation.
sure if we should be making edits, if
I
this is
see.
supposed to be word for word what our charge is.
That, I interpret it to be, I'm sorry, can I speak?
no, that's fine.
I interpret it to be, we should take exactly what was the language from the charge defined by the town meeting.
Okay, and include it word for word.
Yeah. So provide a report, so for example, provide, it should be, the word and, A and D should be after recommendation to a future town meeting. There should not be a colon at the end of number
Yeah.
3.
So there should not be a colon, and then 4 recommends does not seem like the correct verb tense. So recommend, I guess, recommend whether or not the town should adopt, right? A new town seal. After that, if the recommendation is to adopt a new town seal, also include. Get rid of the S. A proposed process for creating a new town seal. Okay. We started our research by having a presentation by Westborough local historian Dr. Anthony Weber about Eli Whitney, the cotton gin, and other local significant residents native to Westborough. Local and native, tautological, but not horrible. Okay, we also listened to a presentation about Massachusetts town seals by Westborough Town Clerk Wendy Mickle, who is also a committee member. Great. We held, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just 2 suggestions for wording
Yep.
In that paragraph. So I suggested that the first paragraph be the committee invited local history librarian Dr. Anthony Weber to present his research into Eli Whitney, the cotton gin, and other local significant residents.
We start, so get rid of started our research?
What I was suggesting was the committee invited instead of by having a presentation.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like that better too.
We invited Westborough local historian Dr. Anthony Weber.
Yeah, and I looked his title as listed online as local history librarian.
Okay. I would get rid of the word local. It jars my ear, because local and then native to Westborough. They're obviously local if they're native to Westborough.
Sure. The only thing is that his title?
Local from the end of the sentence, not the title.
Oh, no, local, yeah, local from the local significant residents native to Westborough. Significant residents native to
Oh, I see
Westborough.
what you mean, yeah. Yep, sorry.
I think just drop local.
That's what I said, yeah, that's just, exactly.
And,
Yeah.
see.
It does look better that way, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Okay, this paragraph, any other notes? on this?
Yeah, I had one other one. The sentence about Wendy's presentation.
Mhm.
My suggestion was to change that to Westborough Town Clerk and Committee Member Wendy Mickle also presented her research into Massachusetts town seals.
Okay.
Actually, I have a problem with significant residents native to Westborough. Native to Westborough implies that they were born and raised here.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that that's a necessity. In other words, you could have a significant resident who's been here for 50 years but wasn't native to here. They were born in Boston, they were born
We
in
could-
Medford.
we could say- we could-
Just a significant
Yeah,
resident.
we could say local residents significant to Westborough.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and take out the native is the thing
Yeah.
that bothers me, because that implies somebody.
I like that.
Yes.
So native residents significant to Westborough.
Or
No,
local
local
residents.
residents.
Local residents.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, local residents.
Local
Significant
residents significant to
To
Westborough.
Westborough.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that flows better.
We held 3 public information gathering sessions in November 2021. Didn't we have 4?
No, we had 3.
We had the 3 plus the Zoom one, right?
No, we had one in November 2021, which was an in-person. And we had the Zoom one is on December 2021. And then the third one was at the Senior Center
February,
in
yeah.
February 2022. We only had 3.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say we only had 3. We had 3.
Yeah.
We had 3 and not 4.
We had 3 and not 4.
Do,
And we talked about that at 2 other meetings about whether we should have a 4th one or not.
Okay,
Just
maybe
that-
that's where it's coming
yeah.
from.
So I was just saying that, but that's in the minutes that we decided we did not need to do this.
do we want to start this paragraph maybe in addition to the 15 meetings open to the public we had?
Mhm.
Because this right here counts as an opportunity which some
That's right.
Actually, that's
Well-
very true.
residents to develop themselves, so maybe it's mentioned somewhere else.
It is mentioned further into this.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So the next section is process of gathering info from the community, so the question Dan raises is whether, do we want to just cut this section entirely because it's really covered?
I see, right, so it's not mission statement, it's the process. Right,
This actually should have been the start of a new section.
This
Right.
part,
Yeah, once you,
And then
the
this
mission
reads-
statement should have ended with number 4, and then whatever this is should be number 3,
mhm. Why don't
which is the
we,
process gathering.
why don't we move up that title
Yeah.
to that? So we held 3 public information gathering sessions in November 2021, December 2021, and February 2022. There's a double period there.
Wait a minute.
I already took that out of the.
Okay, good.
If you're gonna move up the process thing, take the paragraph, started our research and then have the,
Yes, but we've edited that paragraph, right, so we are moving
Yeah.
on to the next one. Yes, and
but
the,
then we're gonna get into repetition, because you have, we held 3 public and then we held 3 public.
Yeah, it looked like
We're
the.
gonna
Right.
take out one of those.
so, no, what I was saying earlier was to, just to take the heading for number 3 and move it up before the paragraph that starts with, we started our research.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, and then we edit paragraph by paragraph, so when we get to that, we'll just edit that
You
out.
can just take out the duplicated paragraph.
Yes, exactly, but we
Alright.
haven't gotten there yet, so we'll do
Just
it.
one thing, I do think the second time this appears, there are a few fewer edits needed.
Oh.
So we might want to look at
Just
it.
take that whole paragraph.
Yeah.
Take this one out.
I think take out the first.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
instance.
the one
Okay.
that's on the
Yeah.
first page.
I
Take
think
that
it's
out.
just the
Three
whole,
public
I think
information,
it's the entire thing of the, I mean, it looks identical to what I wrote. Yeah, starts the same and
Yeah.
ends the same.
so you want to just jettison the last 2 paragraphs on page 1?
What, yeah, I mean,
Well, but the, is,
Which
Yeah,
is
You
they'll
don't
be-
fine.
have the waiver and
right, that is
Michael thing there.
important.
So you need the waiver Michael thing, but then you can take out the next paragraph and move right down to the, what is currently 3.
Okay, so after the header for section 3, we keep the paragraph that starts with we invited
Yes.
Dr. Anthony Vaver, then we check the next paragraph entirely.
Yeah.
Do we keep the next paragraph, the first on page 2, that states the questions?
That's also duplicated.
Oh, it also is duplicated, so we
Look in
can
there with-
lose that as well.
and the next one,
And
using
the,
these
yep,
questions.
and the town, yeah, well, met 16 times.
Starting with the town seal review committee, we should keep that, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Town Seal Review Committee met 16 times from August 2021. Today's meeting number 15,
And that was, I put that number 16 in there.
because the
This
previous
morning.
didn't,
Well, I just wasn't sure if we were going to have a 16th meeting. I think we could
Right.
always just change it.
okay.
I just,
And we should add a sentence to that,
yes.
which would say, what you talked about before, the Town Seal Review Committee met 16 times, including information gathering sessions, and was open to the public for comments, which is
Yeah,
whatever.
What Eric was saying.
Yeah, that-
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good,
add
that's a
a
good
sentence
After.
there saying, which also provided an opportunity for the public input.
Yes. Right.
So there
I
needs to
have-
be another
yeah.
sentence there.
Each committee meeting was open to the public.
Each
Yeah,
committee, yes.
yeah, so that we, in addition to the 3 meetings we've already had, as
We have,
Eric pointed out, these were also opportunities for people to
Mhm.
meet.
Okay,
yes.
we
So
held,
we
oh,
That's
just
right.
need
Yeah,
one more
that makes
sentence.
that makes sense,
Yeah,
yeah.
we just need a sentence there. I think Ian threw something out there that sounded good.
Yeah, I've got it in here.
We held 3 public information gathering sessions on November 9th, right? on November 9th, 2021, December 16th, 2021, and February 12th, 2022. To notify town residents about the information gathering sessions, we publicly posted the meetings on local social media pages, affixed physical posters in the community, announced the meetings on the electronic screen at the junction of Lyman Street and East Main Street, and contacted media outlets such as the Community Advocate, Middlesex News, Boston Globe West, and Westborough TV.
Can I just interject here? I think it's called the Metro West Daily News.
Metro West
I don't
Daily
think it's called
News.
Middlesex News anymore. I think that
Okay.
was an old name. And I just went and checked this, I had put it, I noticed it, I went and checked it online and looked back on where I had sent some of the postings, it was to the Metro West Daily News. So just, it's a minor thing, but I don't, as long as we're
Yeah.
trying to be accurate here.
That's right, I'm just looking it up to see that the name changed. We do have Metro West Daily News is a thing, but is it indeed Middlesex News?
I think it's a part, I think that they are the same entity. I think it's
Okay.
one time different.
They were bought out by somebody
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
at some point.
You're right, Middlesex News redirects to Metro West Daily
Yeah.
News. Okay, cool, so
So just keep
Metro
me
West.
going, I just would just make that little change.
As a part of our information gathering effort, the committee sought answers to these agreed upon questions. 1, does the imagery on the current town seal reflect the values and ideals of our community? 2, when you think of Westborough, what symbols come to mind as representative of our community? 3, based on this committee's charge, if the recommendation is to change the seal, what are some ideas for the process of designing it, as well as new elements to include? Using
I'd like
these,
to see those 3 items separated out.
I think that's a great idea.
Like
Indent,
bullet- like
yeah,
bullet
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Tab over, indent, yeah, those, and then revert back to that last sentence as the last sentence
I
under
think
it.
that's great,
But
yeah,
highlight those.
Yeah.
Get those so they're highlighted.
And I'm gonna edit to the wording of the sentence preceding the list of 3 questions.
Is that the agreed upon thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funky.
Yeah, so what I proposed was, as part of our information gathering efforts, the committee developed a set of questions that we then posed to town residents.
Well, that's good.
yep. Do we need to include this last sentence after the 3 questions? Using these questions, we began outreach, because it's kind of implied that that's what we did? Are we just saying this because of the phrase diverse stakeholder groups?
I think that statement, yeah, I think that's probably why that statement's there.
Mm-hmm.
And we
So-
had talked numerous times about
Mhm.
outreach to diverse stakeholder groups.
Right.
So I think it speaks to, it's directly speaking to one of the charges, I think, so
Well,
I like
maybe
it, I like the
Maybe we
idea.
could include the phrase diverse stakeholder groups into that sentence that precedes the 3 questions. Would you mind reminding me what the wording was that you chose? That was really good.
I can, I do also, I'll do that first, and then I have one other suggestion.
Uh-huh.
What I recommended was, as a part of our information gathering effort, the committee developed a set of questions that we then posed to town residents.
So then maybe just say instead of we posed to town residents, we posed to diverse stakeholder groups.
No,
Because we
it's-
first say we ask that of town residents, and then we say, we ask those questions of diverse stakeholder
Well,
groups.
unless we just said
Oh, or
to
we
town
could say
residents.
and diverse.
diverse.
Yes, right.
Just put and
Yes.
diverse stakeholder.
That,
That
yes,
would be
I
fine.
like that.
There's
yeah.
also a good, like, kind of lead-in for this in the next paragraph. This paragraph that starts, an online survey was created
Yep.
using these. If we can say, the town seal committee created an online survey using these 3 questions and distributed these among a diverse group of stakeholders.
Or residents and diverse, yeah, I like that. So if we lose that sentence using these questions and insert the diverse stakeholder groups, why don't we put it in both places?
I think both places.
Sure.
That was
Before the
even better.
questions and after.
Yeah, I think the more we emphasize that, the better off we are, so both into both sentences.
Yep.
Mhm.
At this point in the document, I just wonder if we need to say something to the effect that when we reach out to diverse stakeholder groups, we didn't get any direct response back from those groups. But I think inferred from those groups was that we were to distribute announcements about our public hearings. And I'm trying to think of some way to say it.
I don't know if
No,
you get the
don't
nitty-gritty here.
go there, just.
Well,
I
the
think
reason
we
I'm,
just
the
need
reason
to-
I'm bringing it up is, I think this reads like we reached out to diverse stakeholder groups. At the town meeting, I think it will be a question a question will be asked, what was the response of those diverse stakeholder groups?
Then we can answer that.
We just think we just answer it and just not try to answer it here.
Right.
That's fine, I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay, an online survey, or you had a nice rewording of that, would you mind reading that again?
Sure. The committee created an online survey using these 3 questions and distributed this among Westborough residents and diverse stakeholder groups.
That's great. We could also replace this passive voice with active in the next sentence too. We posted the survey on the Town of Westborough website as well as on local social media pages. We made the survey public again, changed it to active voice on January 18th, 2022. And we actively collected responses or sought responses until, or we can just, how do we actively do it though?
I like
Why don't we just say it was open for responses until, because we didn't
Yeah.
really actively do anything, right? It just sat there until.
I think open to
Right,
responses.
right, and it was open to responses until 11:59 PM on March 31st, 2022. Residents also, do we want to say that they also responded or they also had the opportunity to respond? Because certainly not everyone responded, right?
Yeah, I think opportunity to respond is good there.
Provided responses.
Residents also had an opportunity to provide responses?
Hmm.
Or
Residents
respond?
also provided responses via email and verbally.
What I don't like about that is it sounds like residents, like either all residents did that or just some like magical group of residents did that or a select group that we're thinking about. Whereas we gave the opportunity to respond and some took the opportunity but others didn't.
Interested residents also responded via email.
Yeah, you could do that.
Just,
Yeah,
that
just-
also, residents responded.
Just residents responded.
I guess I just want to highlight the fact that we provided these opportunities to give
No,
opinion.
no, I think that's, yeah.
The
I
committee
think
also
that's right.
received responses via email or
Yeah,
verbally at any
you can do
public
that,
meeting.
yeah, I
Okay.
like that too. That's fine.
So
Okay.
is public meeting there, is that like referencing these meetings or are we just talking about
Yeah.
information? Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Well,
And I
remember,
think
we also
they
had
just-
I'm sorry, Jen.
Did you already write that in the first, when you changed it with the town seal review committee met, like, before? Didn't you like say it then too?
But we
That they
say,
had the opportunity to speak?
We did say that, I think, yeah, we did say that earlier, that they had a chance to respond. So, wait a minute here, you're right, we did say that.
I think we added that earlier.
yeah, we added that to that last section in part 2.
In part 2?
3,
Three.
part 3.
So we're still in part 3, but where did we end up adding
It
that?
was,
I
it
think
was
it's
right
beginning.
above where the old part 3 starts.
Mm-hmm,
The Town Seal Review Committee met 16 times, and sentences, something open to the public. I mean, Ian probably has that.
oh,
town-
yes, I'm sorry,
It
yes,
says
that's right.
each committee meeting was open to the public and public information gathering sessions were held on these dates. It doesn't necessarily say that we received.
Even higher though, it says the Town Seal Review Committee met 16 times from August 2021 to June 2022, including 3 information gathering sessions. Maybe we can add this sentence in a slightly modified form up there. And just say
Sure.
residents, or rather, we also received, resident feedback by email or something along those lines. But it seems like it would belong there with that sentence, right?
Yeah.
Are there any other thoughts on what to include in section 3, or are we ready to move on to section 4?
I'd say we're fine. It's fine.
I just want to take a second and acknowledge that it's 8 o'clock and we're now done with 3/4 of this, so very, very good. Nicely done. We're being very productive.
That last sentence, is that where we are with this? The committee also receives responses by email and verbally? or
Yeah.
kind of
We
a-
inserted it in the
Could bump
beginning.
that
So
up.
we can cut that?
Yep, yep. Okay, so part 4 is analysis of information gathered. Over the course of 7 months, September 2021 through April 2022, the committee received ample written and verbal feedback on the current town seal. The vast majority of residents who shared their sentiments did
I don't
so.
like the word ample.
I'm sorry, you don't like the word ample?
Yeah, I'm not
The
sure
word
if the word
ample.
ample is helpful there.
Ample is, doesn't seem like a good word.
Okay,
It was just not having,
Oh, don't even
Just
need
take it
anything
out.
there.
Okay.
The
Just
committee
like-
Because we're
received
saying-
written and verbal feedback.
because we are saying the number actually of the responses.
Yeah,
so
right.
that-
Yeah,
so-
you're right.
so
and
it
then,
would
and then
be-
let the,
It's the judgment of the reader,
yeah, I was gonna say,
right?
let the judgment
Yeah.
of the town meeting
Yeah.
decide if it was ample.
If it was ample,
I
right,
think just
exactly.
take ample out.
I like that.
bugs me.
Unless do we wanna make a statement as a committee that we feel like we did receive ample.
Well, but I don't know that that's the place to put it.
No, I agree, but I'm just
Or
saying.
no,
You can
we may
say-
want to say
Yeah.
that later somewhere else in a different spot.
Yeah.
Right here, just we
Yeah, I'm
received
with
is sufficient.
One thing that we can say here is the committee received what we consider to be sufficient feedback, right? Because we did decide that there's a stopping point somewhere, and that it seemed like this was enough. So do we want to
We
insert?
wanna say that though, sufficient, because I mean, there's 22,000 residents.
Right,
And
But we
that's-
felt-
I,
we felt like this
I
was
think we should
sufficient.
avoid that whole.
I kinda do
Okay.
too.
I think we
Alright.
should avoid that whole thing. This is, we receive
Yeah.
responses
Okay.
heard, and the fact that we found it sufficient is fine, but.
okay.
Okay.
It's also implied, I think you're right, it's also implied since we've stopped the process, that,
Right.
that we do
Right,
believe it's
yeah.
sufficient,
Right.
otherwise we'd be going. The vast majority of residents who shared their sentiments did so through the online survey, which yielded 389 individual responses. Any problems there? Looks good to me.
Dana, and just for clarification, town seal, are we capitalizing that
Throughout,
throughout?
So it's capitalized in the charge.
I would capitalize it throughout.
Okay.
Wendy, how does that look on documents? Is that capitalized town seal?
I would
It
say
doesn't make sense,
yes.
it's not a.
It's a name.
It's a
It's
proper
name.
name. It's a proper name.
It's
It's not.
its name,
It's
it's a
not.
capital.
In the way, in the context in which we're using it, it's a proper name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a proper name.
Right,
The town
instead of
seal.
saying,
Okay.
instead of each time saying the Westborough town seal, or the, that's, I would say it's used as a proper name in this
Okay.
context.
Fair enough.
No?
Several dozen other residents spoke at one of the 3 public information gathering sessions held by the committee, while others sent their comments to the committee via email. The committee was careful to avoid double counting residents who shared their sentiments in multiple formats, i.e. speaking at a public information gathering session and completing the online survey, thus yielding a total of 431 individual residents who shared their views on the current town seal. Do we want to include here that we required each person who responded to share their address as well as their name? No, we don't. Is it because it's procedure? Because I feel like
Yeah,
that's
that's
part
just a
of what we.
procedural thing. I mean, that was something that we.
The reason why I feel like we might consider including that is because that was part of how we made sure that that the answers were just individual, that they were not double counted by name and by address also.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It says-
I
it
don't-
says-
You don't think it's-
I
Careful
don't, well,
though.
I personally don't think
people
that's
would
necessary.
assume, like,
Yeah.
if you're going to reach out, you would be from Westborough.
Well,
Right.
we have the word residents in there.
Yeah, we have individual,
Yeah.
individual and residents, so
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that we have to go.
And then if they ask.
I see
we
what you're
can do
saying,
that,
but
yeah.
I don't think we need it. I think that's it, that's a, if somebody asks at the town
Yes.
meeting, then we can
Provide an
Yeah,
answer.
elaborate on it.
that's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
Much of what we're proposing going forward hinges on the next 2 sentences.
Yes.
Can we make that an individual paragraph? So in question and answer, we can refer to page 3, paragraph 2.
yes.
Versus the end of paragraph 1. So I would go to of these and hit tab, so that stands out alone.
We
Should
don't
we
Because if
even
it-
italicize that? Because it seems like that's the main finding.
I don't know if we need to italicize it, but I would just, I think, I agree with Eric that going.
Should stand
just-
alone, yeah.
Just offsetting it as a new paragraph.
Well, you don't want to start with of these responses, then we need
I
to
put
start with
of these
something.
431 responses.
It could be of the 431 responses the committee received.
Or from these 431 responses.
No, my point is to make it a new paragraph, it should have a new paragraph topic sentence. The way it's
So,
written now,
the
it's
majority.
part of a
You
different
said
paragraph.
the results
We
of
have
these,
to-
you want to
yeah,
say the
we-
results of these responses?
Were as follows.
Yeah, or,
The results were as follows, first sentence.
Yeah.
244, 59% expressed the desire to change the town seal. 155, 37.5% expressed the desire to keep the town seal. 14 or 3.5% gave no clear indication one way or the other as to whether or not they wished to change the town seal.
So Dan has a suggestion there.
Yeah, I just felt like
We
that.
should- Oh,
last-
sorry, go ahead.
The last part about the 14
Mhm.
was kind of wordy for something that we don't want to focus on.
Uh-huh.
What I suggested was 14 gave a response that was ambiguous or expressed ambivalence.
I like that.
well, that's.
I also would like to address somehow that we have a high degree of agreement, what they would call in social sciences interquarter reliability. We have a high degree of agreement in how we interpreted this, right? Because obviously qualitative data are, sometimes in the eye of the beholder, and we tend to agree that people who are saying that they want to change the town seal, everyone in the room agrees that these folks are in favor of changing the seal. So what can we say here to address that? Can we say the committee?
Should we explain how we review
Mhm.
those results at a
Mhm.
meeting?
Yes,
Then
so
I'll
we
have
can
to
say-
rack my brain about how we actually did that, but get into the process a little bit.
We talked about like different categories to put each one in.
Right, so in other words, that we are all in agreement as to how these responses were classified, so we can say to achieve a high degree of agreement among committee members. What did we do? We discussed, or we all read responses, right? We all committee members individually read responses and discussed the coding at meetings.
Yeah, we
No?
discussed
Melissa, you're shaking your head.
response.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way to say it that doesn't get too,
Wordy?
yeah, well, yeah, too, something that's more direct and specific. like,
Mhm.
Well, you
The
sort of-
committee discussed
Mhm.
the interpretation.
But I think somehow what you're trying to get at is addressed in the very next paragraph, where it talks about tended to give straightforward views on whether or not the town still should be changed. I mean, the information we looked at, the data set, is public knowledge. If someone really basically doesn't trust our analysis of it, we're happy to share that spreadsheet with them, and they'll see
Mhm.
that this is not a made-up number.
Mhm.
I mean, you kind of, what we have in the next paragraph, at least the first few sentences, I think does what you're just alluding at, getting to.
I think you're right, it is, yeah, I did not read that next sentence, but maybe we could add that to the end of that sentence, or maybe even take that sentence and put it to the end of that paragraph with the results, to say, so email correspondence to the committee and sentiments shared with the public at public information gathering sessions tended to give straightforward views on whether or not the town seal should be changed, and then maybe add a brief sentence for those responses that were less straightforward. Or the committee discussed.
And don't introduce,
Yeah, I don't think-
don't introduce something like that. I
Yeah.
mean, we've said flat out that people were pretty straightforward. I mean,
Right.
not everybody was. You're looking for trouble if you start to add.
Well, we have
Oh,
above it,
But
no
this
clear indication.
wording is fuzzy, this is tended
I mean,
to,
In
you know,
the
and
next
so.
couple of paragraphs, like it starts with the one that starts with of the 30 questions,
Mhm.
it goes into detail. 82 answered yes.
Uh-huh.
8 like
And then-
emphasized this.
So maybe then we
are
can.
going into detail
For the ones
there.
that-
I feel
Yeah,
like we
that's
just
true.
Yeah, I don't want to open the door
Save
to
it.
these if, ands, and
So
buts,
what
but
if
to
then
keep
we-
it specific.
So for the ones that weren't as straightforward, what I did is, it was originally in footnotes,
Mhm.
but gave a minimum of 3 direct quotes to show these are the
I
range
see.
of responses that we then classified as belonging to this group.
So you gotta
Okay.
break out each of those, the 59% and the 37%, the 3. I think people would just look at that and see, it's clear, 59% of people, I don't think we need to really explain it, why.
No,
And if
no.
they do ask
Sometimes
Then
too
we
much
can answer that,
explanation
yes, right.
is not
Yeah.
good. And you can wait for the questions. I mean,
Right.
if people come back with questions, I don't think that any of us would be on shaky ground in
Right.
answering any of those kinds of questions. But don't put it out there,
Uh-huh.
wait for the question to
Okay.
come back.
Fair enough, okay.
And as Jenna just said, I mean, the next paragraph is going into some real nitty-gritty detail, which is, if they want it, it's there.
I agree with you. I think the next paragraph, I think the next two paragraphs really
Uh-huh.
start to show our due diligence on
That's
this.
great.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Let's get to the next paragraph then. Email correspondence to the committee and sentiments shared at public information gathering sessions tended to give straightforward views on whether or not the town seal should be changed. By and large, residents who emailed the committee their thoughts or spoke at public information gathering sessions focused on whether or not the inclusion of Eli Whitney's cotton gin on the town seal necessitated a change. This should be worded better, I think. Focused on whether or not Eli Whitney's cotton gin should be removed from the seal. I don't know, it just seems like
Yeah, I think
inclusion necessitated a change is.
Well, I would say that the word, I like the wording actually, because as opposed to just removing it, it was, what would we change it to? I think that it's a little more, I think the way it's phrased, it's a little more open-ended, as opposed to just deleting it.
Yeah, because then you can
Not
come
everyone
back with,
knows
well, so why
what
didn't you
they
just erase it and move on?
Yeah, I think, because the most of the comments centered on, the comments that centered on removing the cotton gin, centered on what other change might we make, and then you start to develop all those range of other ideas, et cetera. I actually like the way that's phrased, whether it was necessary to make a change.
Inclusion sounds like an active verb,
Yeah.
meaning that the inclusion is happening recently, maybe like the presence
The
necessitates a
presence, you
change.
can put presence.
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Or put presence instead of inclusion, whether the presence of the cotton gin necessitated a
Yeah,
change.
okay.
Just change that
Yeah.
word.
Okay. Many of those who wish to keep the current town seal claim that the cotton gin did not affect the expansion of African American slavery, and that Whitney's invention, and by extension Eli Whitney himself, should be seen as a source of pride for the town. Conversely, those who emailed or spoke to the committee in favor of changing the town seal tended to focus on the fact that African American slavery expanded rapidly in the wake of Whitney's invention, and expressed concern that the presence of the gin on the town seal is racist. I don't know that that's a fair characterization.
Can we put the word is at best?
Do we even need any of that?
Well, I think.
That
leave it-
that whole section of that paragraph, do we even need it?
You mean starting with,
I mean,
You
you're
mean
just
starting with-
opening
So
up,
there-
you're opening up a can of worms
Yeah.
and another discussion at town meeting that could go on for 2 hours.
Yes,
When the
yes.
fact is, we've covered all of that, do we really even
Yes.
need any of that?
Yes.
Just stop after the Eli Whitney necessitated a change.
The idea is that we go into detail about the survey results. This is strictly explaining the results of the email correspondence and the verbal feedback we receive. So, I mean, I'm happy to delete it, but that's the reason it's there, is because we
No,
don't really.
okay, I understand that, but I guess the question now is, do we want to even do that?
well, I mean, look, at this, I would say this does show both, it does express
Well-
both sides.
I'm looking back at the mission statement to see what it says, and it says to provide a report. If we're providing a report, then that should be there. If we're just providing results of our meetings and
I think the
public
way I-
things.
Oh, I
no.
see what you, yeah.
But in a report, yeah, you need that information.
But this gets, I mean, I think this gets to the heart of the issue.
Yeah.
Well, it does.
And if we, let's also remember, in addition to presenting to town meeting, 50 years from now, when someone wants to change the town seal again, they're gonna come back and look at the work that we did here. And there may be I think this addresses the issue.
I think we can potentially short circuit the debate that we've been having at all these meetings by saying the decision will be made when we get to warrant articles. it's the time to rehash the ups and downs and ins and outs, that's not town meeting. That's not,
Well, that's my point, is that
So-
if you start talking about this, it's gonna end up at town meeting. This is not something that we wanna open up at town meeting.
I'm not sure
But
who.
This is our
People
report.
might appreciate seeing, you
Well,
know, the
if
thought
we-
process that went on.
If we're
This is.
if we're
draft
putting
report,
this
right?
out as a report, aside from the warrants, then this should all be here.
My understanding is this is a draft of our report, right? And then part of it is also gonna be the warrants that are included at the end, which are in some ways separate, but that this document is our
Yeah, this won't
full.
appear on the warrant.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It might be something we hand out to people,
Yes, and
right?
it probably would be a good thing, a little booklet of what went on.
Well, it's our report, and we
Yeah.
were charged with producing a report, and so this would be part of a report. As long as it, I guess what I'm worried about is that, fine, if it's separate and handed out as a report, and this is our report, and then the warrants deal with the issue specifically, without opening up this for this whole 2 hours worth
Yeah, I
of
think
discussion at town meeting.
The warrants are, as Eric is drafting, are nice and concise
Yes.
and get right to the point.
And I think that's what we need to be,
Yeah.
the warrants, but for a report, I think that this should be a report.
Okay,
One thing that I would say is that, in the sentence, tended to conversely, those who emailed or spoke to the committee in favor of changing the town seal tended to focus on the fact that African American slavery expanded rapidly in the wake of Whitney's invention. I would say, or expressed concern that the presence of the gin on the town seal is racist. Like just.
Oh, or as opposed to.
And.
Could be and or, because some express both, but, yeah.
And so trying to accurately summarize the view, and I know that if we took the part of the comments we got, that this sentence is meant to summarize, there are going to be some that used that language and said racist. That I'm wondering if, what I'm trying to do is prevent a situation where someone that is there, that agrees to keep the seal, is being sort of subtly told, if you do that, this is a racist decision you're making.
Yeah, and I think we need to be
Can
careful.
we use, I mean, but I also want to be factual, because that's what people said, right?
Right, that's why it's there, it's because it came up numerous times.
And all this, and I'm trying to very dance around my language, because our agreement months and months, or was it years ago now, did not share our individual thoughts on this. Could we say racist / at a minimum fraught with, negative connections between our town?
Why don't we just use the word fraud?
We could say the
The
word
town
fraud.
seal is fraud.
why are we, whose feelings are we protecting right now?
Well, I'll give you, for instance, I went to Washington DC recently with 8th graders.
Yep.
And I explained to the students the events of January 6th. And then the gentleman who was part of our tour company stood up and took umbrage with some of the ways I classified it. And he said, who amongst you identifies with a political party? And like 15 out of 50 kids raised their hand. And he said, good, I see the rest of you are still open-minded. The implication is you 15 chumps who just raised your hand, I'm basically saying you're closed-minded. So if we're gonna go on and have people vote on this saying, do you wanna keep the town seal? And we're saying the town seal, according to the majority of town, is racist, aren't we in a roundabout way saying you've just made a decision that's racist?
But this is
Well, I
what
don't-
the town was saying.
I also, it doesn't say, to clarify, the paragraph says that this is what's in the email correspondence.
Right.
And it
This
doesn't
is
say it's a
what
majority,
our-
it's just saying that this is included in some of the sentiment. I mean, we can be more precise.
Should we add another adjective in addition to racist?
Well, I don't think we should use the word racist, because I think the word racist is.
Well, some definitely use it.
People definitely use
Either
that.
It's a
or.
trigger.
You could say inappropriate or.
Is either inappropriate or,
Racially
I
insensitive.
had something else in my mind when I started and I lost it.
Right.
Unfortunate.
Or just insensitive.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate.
I don't think we should dance around the word racist per se, but I think racially insensitive
Yeah.
might be a
Oh.
better way to.
Racially insensitive,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think racially insensitive
I
might
think the word,
be softer.
because the word racist is so charged in this society, it might start us all off on a tangent that we don't wanna go
I think
on.
that's what Eric's saying.
Yeah.
And sort of detract from the cause of.
That's what I'm worried
Yeah.
about. So we should find something that's.
Right, so
Either
racially
that
sensitive.
is, like I said, you said something good, I said the gin on the town seal is unfortunate.
I just wanted to capture there was a strong, not strong number, but whatever, multiple people that see this as a racial issue. I think we
Yes.
just acknowledge that they
Yeah.
see it as a
Yeah.
racial issue, so we shouldn't use euphemisms, especially when
I
we're
agree.
describing the language of other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
agree.
I think that's the key here, is
Yeah.
that,
So who's on board with the word racially insensitive? Can we take a quick vote so that we can,
Yeah, I like
okay,
that.
great, let's include that, all right,
Racially insensitive,
perfect.
rather than the word racist, which really is a
We
loaded
should move on.
word.
It should be
I have-
noted, oh, go, sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
One comment about the previous paragraph, actually, just the numbers, the numbers in the results were as follows paragraph, those add up to 413, not 431. So is
I
the
dyslexia.
431 a typo?
Thank you for double checking that.
no, but somebody would, that actually, somebody
Yeah.
actually would take that up.
Yeah.
And rightfully
I
so,
know
I know,
exactly
it's,
Do the percentages then stay the same?
Well, the percentages add up to 100, it's just that the numbers added up to 431.
But yeah,
But
but
then
what are
the
the
raw-
percentages
raw
that are
numbers.
consistent?
that's okay. All right.
Okay.
They do, so
Going
it was, the numbers match the percentages, it was just the 431.
It should be noted.
Thank you, Jordan.
No problem.
It should be noted that a handful of email correspondence and speakers at public information gathering sessions focus solely on the dated aesthetics of the seal design. I think that's great, because that's true. There were
It is, yeah.
people, yeah. Of the 3 questions posed to residents in the online survey, question 1 yielded the most direct feedback regarding whether or not respondents wished to change the town seal and why they held that view. Question 1 asked, does the imagery on the current town seal reflect the values and ideals of our community? Everyone good so far? Any changes? The committee evaluated responses on the assumption that residents who felt the current town seal does not reflect the community's values and ideals would wish to change the seal, while those who felt the current town seal does reflect the community's values and ideals would wish to keep the seal unchanged. I like this. I would just insert that between felt the current town seal, just to make it a little clearer
Yeah.
in both places. While those who felt that the current town seal.
In the beginning of part 4, it also says we had 389 individual responses, and then it
And
changes
now it's
to
388. Good catch. Good
Now I
catch.
have the numbers.
Okay.
Just I'm
Pick
thinking
one.
really good.
Pick one.
Look at these
One
numbers, yeah.
disappeared by the time we got to page 3.
Thanks.
Of the 389 total survey responses to question 1, 82 answered simply yes, or similarly short responses like absolutely or it certainly does. Lengthier responses to question 1 from another 59 residents focused primarily on their belief that the current town seal represents an important part of the town's history and should not be changed. Do these 2 numbers add up to 155? Or 3 numbers, 59, 8, and what is it? 82?
Not quite.
90,
They add up to
149, 149. So that's a different number.
I think what this just means is that 6 of the responses aren't,
Or the unclear
Scrap,
ones.
Just don't fall into this category, into any of the 3 categories?
yes.
Okay, I think we should say that.
So say that again.
Yes.
So, so the remaining 6 responses don't fall into any
Can't
of
be
these 3.
categorized.
Okay.
Cannot be categorized,
Okay.
sure.
Neatly categorized.
Okay. In total, 155 respondents to question 1 of the online survey expressed their desire to keep the town seal unchanged. Any notes on this paragraph that we haven't discussed?
Just one quick thing, I would put that sentence after.
Yeah, I saw that, thank you.
Okay. 244 respondents to question 1 of the online survey indicated a desire to change the town seal, and their reasons can be broken down into 4 categories. 90 responses focused primarily on the close association between the contingent. Do we want to break them out into 4 lines, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or do we just want to jam that into the paragraph?
I think we should just stick with.
Okay.
that.
Stick with the format. 90 responses focused primarily on the close association between the cotton gin and African American slavery as a reason why the town seal should be changed. Another 89 simply answered no, or gave a similarly brief response like not really or not particularly to question 1, indicating a belief that the town seal does not reflect Westborough's values and ideals. Or ideals?
Well, you want to do and or?
What was it, the question was?
Indicating
It's
belief
just-
that the town seal does not reflect Westborough's values and ideals.
That's what it was in the question, that's what the language is.
Oh, okay, yeah, so leave it there.
Okay. 69 responses to question 1 emphasized flaws in or negative attributes of the town seal's design. Finally, 21 responses to question 1 expressed the desire to change the seal because the cotton gin is not relevant to Westborough residents today.
So the numbers here actually add up to more than 240, significantly more than 244. So what we could do is add a footnote just in saying that some of these may fall into multiple categories or none at all.
And that's why the numbers don't add up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could even add that about the
Previous paragraph?
the previous paragraph.
Do you think we should do that?
Instead
Yeah,
of
we
doing
got-
the 6 responses that cannot be neatly categorized, because we don't know for sure if it's a one-to-one
Right.
thing for.
Do you think
That's
we
true.
should do that at the beginning of the paragraph?
I think a footnote
Or
for
footnote
this,
at the end.
footnote
Yeah, I think
sounds
a
good.
footnote is probably the best place,
Yeah, because
because,
people may have made multiple comments
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
one response may have 2 or 3 elements to it.
I
that
think
would look out.
I think the kind of person who would be pedantic about the numbers
Mhm.
would be the kind of person to read the footnotes just to
That's
make sure.
exactly right, yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Good point.
In summary, a majority of respondents to the online survey, 244 out of 388. Should we include the percentage here as well?
We had the percentage.
Right,
earlier.
just reinstate it here since it's 59%, right?
So the majority in parentheses, 59%.
Uh-huh. Believe that the current town seal does not reflect the community's values and ideals. Of the 26 residents who emailed comments to the committee or spoke in a public information gathering session and who did not complete the survey, 16 expressed their desire to change the town seal. It bears emphasis that of more than 400 Westborough residents who shared their sentiments about the town seal with the committee, roughly 1/4 identified the Cotton Gins Association with the history of African American slavery as the primary reason why they believe the seal should be changed, while many others expressed their belief that the seal does not reflect the town's values and ideals. I like that as the summary.
Ian, you did a good job with this.
This is really
Very
great,
good
great
job.
analysis.
Very.
And then these are footnotes, the 1 through 5?
Yeah, so I need
Okay.
to kind of go back
Or like
and
end notes.
add them as footnotes.
Okay,
It's something got lost in the translation from Word to Google Docs.
sure. Okay, so how do we feel about section 4? Do we want to discuss this section any further? Or do we feel good?
I think once we get a new draft, we
Yes.
can take a look and
Yeah.
digest what we've done.
Right, it'll look beautiful. Well formatted. Okay, then moving on to 5, recommendations. In response to the 4 charges created by the May 2021 Westborough Town Meeting, the Town Seal Review Committee proposes the following articles to the Westborough Town meetings. First of the 3 proposed articles.
So yeah, so just all.
Go ahead, yeah.
Too bad we don't have John here tonight, because he was helping us sort of spitball this. It's a lot of like if this then kind of thing. So please, when I did this, everyone tear it to pieces here, but we were figuring that if one of these things is yes, then the others become moot. So, and when I said hundreds, I didn't have the exact number, so we can change that language there too,
Sure.
right? So for instance, I believe if this one is voted down, then that's the end of the story, nothing else happens.
Okay.
The seal stays the same. Is that how all of you read what John had walked us through?
That's correct.
Okay, so I don't know if this would be a place, or maybe Wendy, you might know, should that be clearly mentioned even in the article? That if this is voted that, like, a vote yes here is a vote to keep the seal kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or that's in the language below it? Great, okay. All right, so we can just look at it.
Okay. First of the three proposed articles, a summary of our committee's findings with the conclusion that the committee, per a majority of, we can say the number here, 389, yep, very good, 389 comments we received, proposed that the official seal of the town of Westborough be changed from its current format. Okay?
And I imagine that even the town lawyers get involved in
Yes.
the language of the warrant. I guess we can give them the spirit of what direction you want to go in, maybe not.
Do
have
we
to
want
worry.
to put that number in there or not?
I had the
I
same,
would-
I had the same question.
I would prefer not to
Maybe
put
not.
the
Not to put
number
it
in, and just go a summary of our committee's findings with the conclusion that per a majority of the comments we received,
Yeah.
Right,
no number.
okay,
Okay,
I like that.
Because, as Wendy pointed out, there are 22,000 people in
Right.
town. And to throw in your face that we're making this decision based on 389 people,
Mhm.
yeah.
I don't know that we would.
Although I wouldn't poo-poo that much, because at this town meeting, there might be 150 people in
No,
residence.
no, I
So I
understand.
mean, like 400 is not something that necessarily,
No, but
it's
I.
a small of the 22,000, you're right.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't discount it just because it's only a couple hundred, right?
Well, we've said it in the report,
Yeah.
the numbers are there. I think for the
Just a
warrant,
majority.
just a majority is sufficient.
Okay,
Do we need to, kind of defend this here, or, like, I guess, my thinking was just it could be the committee proposes that we change the seal.
Yeah.
That
kind of agree.
that little positive, the per majority of the comments received, I think it makes it sound like we're solely acting on, it was almost like the comments we gathered from people who submitted them, whatever the format, that is what led this committee to its conclusion. And
well, we could say that based on the work that we've conducted.
yes,
Or the process.
well, even if we said based on the work we've conducted, the research we conducted,
You could use the percentage too.
we,
59%.
Well, I
yeah.
I don't know, I mean,
I'm just saying, like, I don't know if we need to do that.
let me ask you a question. If the number was 59 to keep it, would our work have ended a few months ago because we would be keeping it? Like, you're saying research, I've done research, but I've been reluctant to share it because of my charge to remain neutral through this whole process. I feel that I've been gathering information and I'm now passing information on. We actually haven't, as a committee, individually said, this is what we think. We're going through this process and saying this would guide it through this process. But I guess the question in general is, if the numbers were the other way, what would we be doing right now?
Well, first of all, we have expressed at the May 19th meeting, we voted 7-0 to change the town seal.
But that was, my understanding is it was based on this, right?
No, I agree with you, but I just.
I'm not fighting to keep it in there, you're right, we could just say.
I just think that, like, I just think we ought to say yes, the information gathering sessions gave us info, the surveys gave us info. We get the information we gathered from the public. I don't know if we need to get into the quantity of what we received.
No, agreed,
You know what I mean?
I guess, I also just don't wanna have it inferred that somehow this brain trust came together and looked at it the way that Dr. Weber did, and like, we haven't done that because we agreed to follow the rules of the charge, right? So,
I'm with you.
yeah, you know
I'm
what I'm
with you,
saying?
but I see that, but I just think the rest of the body of the report
Yeah.
expresses that.
Okay, we can also take a vote on this?
Yeah, I don't want to get hung up on it.
Right.
That's a little,
Yeah.
I don't need to get hung up on it.
We
I
might
just,
wanna look at some warrant articles just to see how they make this one's a little different.
I guess just to give, for people in the audience.
do you feel strong, if you feel strongly about it, we
No,
can say.
I'll just say this last thing, I guess for people in the audience who won't go and read the report, which will be on a table passively to be taken if they walk in and grab it, just giving them a sense of, well,
That's
why
my
did the
point.
committee do this? Well, a majority of the comments received, just some indication of
So
that.
why don't we just say then, we will get rid of the number, but we
Yeah.
will say per majority of the comments received. Can I get a sense of who is on board with this? Majority, per a majority of the comments received without the number.
I think my approach this might be more about like formatting. I feel like in the sentence at the very beginning, before the actual, numbered list, we could say something about, you know, based on our research, based on town feedback, we propose the following three, you know,
That's what I was.
recommendations.
I would second that and say that I don't like a summary of our committee's findings with the conclusion that a committee. I think we should just say, after due consideration of the information presented to the committee, plus the input from town residents, this committee recommends that the seal be changed.
So we use the broader expression, input from the community, from the residents, as opposed to.
Input
getting
from the
that-
residents.
That's my concern,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
And,
basically my concern.
the research and time that the committee spent discussing this, we recommend that the seal be changed.
Could you say that one more time, I guess, so that.
What- Another thing,
gotta be
what's the specific wording of our charge? Because we could just fall back on that.
Right.
Well, that's right, and I think if we take a look at that, it's,
So the simplest thing would be to say the committee recommends
Back on-
yeah, the
it's
committee
back on page
recommends,
one of
and
it.
we recommend,
that the
It's
town
back on
adopt the
page
new
one.
town seal.
yeah,
But I don't
Right.
think that's what's gonna go on the warrant article. I
Okay.
think it's gonna-
this committee recommends that the seal be
Keep it
changed.
simple.
And, I don't know if the warrant has to say anything more than that.
Okay, yeah, why don't we keep it simple then?
Just simple, straightforward,
So-
because we've given in the report
Right,
all of the reasons why. We've said that we did our research, that we had input to the committee,
right,
and the committee went out to the public.
mhm,
We have all of that
great.
in the report.
So the committee
So at this point,
recommends.
the committee makes a recommendation that the town seal be changed.
So the warrant, this is a technical question, maybe Wendy will know, but the warrant should be exactly what the town seal attendees will vote upon, right?
Yes.
So it should be sort of a yes or no proposition, basically.
Yeah.
That's right,
Yeah.
and that's
So
the.
I was
we
just
recommend-
trying to find an example I should have brought.
But I think that's good for our purposes now, because the town lawyer gets involved in the exact nitty-gritty
Well, by the
of
time the
language.
lawyer gets
Why not?
involved and John gets involved, everybody else, it'll be more than one
Yeah.
sentence. But I think we only need to provide one sentence, which is we recommend, based on our input from the town and from the research that we've done, that the town seal be
Yeah.
changed.
So
Well,
it's,
the.
Yes or no?
The charge says to adopt the new seal, so I think we should, I
Yeah,
think
to
keep that
what?
wording.
To adopt the
Why
new
don't
seal.
can we agree to talk about this at the next meeting when John is here? Because I think that he will save us a lot of time,
Oh, yeah,
a lot of this
that's-
uncertainty with how the warrant should be worded.
Yeah, but
This-
Eric's
this-
right, then if they vote yes, then we go on to the next warrant question. If they vote no, we all go home and have a cup of coffee.
How do you all feel about tabling the wording of warrants, because we're a little fuzzy on this, until the next meeting when John is here?
Yeah.
So
So
I
we
think
can,
that's smart.
smart, why don't we stop this here? And, no? That's,
My only question was that if we wanted to talk, I mean, it doesn't have to be about the wording, but about the third article, seems like there was one we need to really kind of think through a bit more.
well, that's the one, yeah, that's the next point on the agenda.
Gotcha.
One thing on the second point, there's not much about feedback about the original town seal in the analysis of responses.
Yes, so my understanding was that we would be discussing that and the process, right? Was that how it was conceived when the agenda was set?
I don't recall specifically, but I think we should discuss.
I think we should discuss that. So I think what we can do at this stage of the game is brainstorm some ideas of what can go on the new seal as a replacement for the old imagery. One of these ideas is here, is the original town seal. We have another idea from Luann right here, right, which is the Norse's eagle plow. We heard some. Sorry, Phyllis, just one more second, just to write it
Go
down,
ahead.
is the crossroads, right, which was, I'm sorry. Oh, the crossroads popped up frequently in conversation with several people who spoke. Somebody also remembers said something about dogs and children in Westborough.
That was my favorite.
I'm sorry, Phyllis, go ahead.
And what I'm gonna say is, that is not part of our charge. To determine what's gonna be on a new seal.
Not determine, suggest.
Even to suggest, it says
But we asked. if we
propose
could-
a process
Right,
for a new seal, whether we propose they do it by committee,
uh-huh,
whether we propose that they do it by whatever. But to get involved in the minutia of do we use a plow, or do we use a crossroads, or do we use a dog and a cat? I don't care what it is.
I hear that.
That's not
That's not our
up
charge.
to us.
Well,
I agree with that, but then why did we ask that question?
So,
It's
so
survey.
Well, maybe we shouldn't have.
We
Well,
shouldn't.
Hold on, well, I think John's thinking on this, which is what we discussed this at the May 19 meeting, was by brainstorming about this relative to this third recommendation.
John did want us to really,
That,
yeah.
well, he suggested that because just by brainstorming about it, it might bring some clarification on what we think a proposed.
Okay, so if we just were to brainstorm
So
among
that was
ourselves,
the
but it shouldn't
intention.
be part of the warrant.
No, the idea of it was
Okay.
that for us to go through this exercise, similar to what Al just started to do,
Mhm.
for us to start to throw some ideas out, it might clarify for us what that last charge,
That last-
whether that last charge,
Okay, well then
how we
yeah,
might
that's fine.
format that, okay?
That's fine.
Okay, so I strongly think that that recommending the town return to the original seal, the 1913 seal, speaks to the heritage of the community. At the May 19th meeting, I said that there was intersection between people who argued that the 1970s town seal, the current town seal, that's at issue, that seal, and people who wanted to keep that because they said it's part of the town heritage, it's been here for 50 years, that there was intersection for people saying, well, if you were to replace it, go back to the 1913 town seal. And I think there's a fair amount of common ground there, because there are people also who are saying, I just like this, I like this 1913 town seal, it's cleaner, it's less cluttered compared to the one from the 1970s. So, so just to speak to the point is that by even talking about it this way, I think that gives us some clarity. I would suggest it gives us some clarity about a solution to this, an appropriate solution to where we should go.
Well, so we can certainly include that on the list of things that
Which is
we're
fine.
proposing. I don't think we should exclude other things that were suggested.
No, and I'm not suggesting that we should.
Okay.
But
But there'll be an opportunity for other people to come up with other ideas. I personally think the old one, it's factual. There's
Right,
no
it's-
question about
yes,
it.
no
the
question
other
about it, yeah.
practical thing about
Right.
returning to the 1913 seal
Yeah.
is that financially,
Yes.
we already have we still have
Yes.
that embosser,
Right,
so there's no
We
additional
do. That's
cost to
excellent.
the community.
right.
At the May 19th meeting, we again reiterated, and we've talked about it numerous times with this committee, about if we recommend changing the town seal, which this committee now has a 7-0 vote, we'll take another vote tonight. Grandfathering out the 1970s town seal is a least costly way to do this, so it will be less of a financial burden upon the community.
Okay.
So that was something else we talked about.
Okay.
So, which I do think, I think just by talking about all this and going in this direction,
Mhm.
what it allows us to do is just flesh out some of these other options.
I think all of this still wraps into the wording of the warrants, right? Because if the warrants need to be as succinct as possible, if we're just sort of throwing one thing out there, then I hear your strong case, Nick, that you're making. However, if we're going to issue a more verbose kind of a recommendation in the second warrant, which will include the Norse's Eagle Plow, the Crossroads, and whatever else, then that could include other ideas, and we won't find that out until John is here at the next meeting.
I question, on number 4, the mission statement recommends whether or not the town should adopt a new seal, and that if the recommendation is to adopt a new town seal, also includes a proposed process for creating a new town seal. short circuit that by saying, we voted to adopt a new town seal. Our recommendation is to, just for argument's sake, use the 1913 town seal, which satisfies the historical approach, it's cost-effective and so on. That short circuits that whole last thing by saying, vote on it now and we're done.
Oh.
Can we in fact
I
do
would-
that?
In other words, there's no process that's
I would
needed.
argue, but
There's
I would
there
argue,
would be no recommendation for a
Right.
process because we have just short-circuited the whole thing by saying,
We already have
do
that.
this and we're done.
I
Can we
like
do
that.
that?
I would argue that is a process. It's a short process, but I know, seriously, I would argue that is a process, it's a short process.
Well, that's,
Do we have to
unfortunately,
word it
John's not
differently
here
say
to,
this would be the process we would take?
Our recommended process,
Would be to adopt.
Is
this
to
next-
adopt
The
Have that
1913
wording in
seal.
there, so
okay?
we are
And
still
it-
sticking
and then
to.
that's the syllogisms of if this one happens, then number 3 doesn't have to happen. That would be
I like that a lot.
I just think it's.
that would be
it-
our process, and then if that's voted down, then we have a third process which says, well, then a new committee needs to be formed, and they can come up with a new town seal. So that works.
Yes. Can we,
So I think
it's,
that's-
it
that's
looks
good.
like, as I'm looking around the room, it looks like lots of people are nodding heads, but can I get a sense of how many people would be on board with this shorter abbreviated process of just adopting the 1913 seal? So can I just get a show of hands of who are, I'm sorry?
A straw vote, or do you want to do a real vote?
I just wanted to just get a sense, and it looks like everyone's on board, right? This is unanimous.
That's
So-
basically what's here, right?
Yeah, well, this is born of our.
I would just change the wording
Yep.
to make sure that we do have something about the process, like us proposing that this would be the process
Mhm.
to change it to this.
Yeah, and
Just
then that
make
way
sure.
you fulfilled that
Right.
charge number 4.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Our process is, do 1913 and let's be done with it.
I think that's, yes, that's very reasonable.
That's our
Yeah,
process.
So we can
The
give
other- the other piece of reality is this. That process, is short as to the point. If then there is a clamoring among the town residents to now form a committee,
Give it a
change,
design, yes.
that can happen.
Yeah,
I'm not
right,
saying
they just have to
it can't.
vote that down.
But
That's
then,
right.
yes.
That
that's
whole
all.
point is they would vote no for that.
Right.
And then they would have the option in number 3 to vote to form a new committee to design a whole new
Right.
thing, which will cost money.
I personally,
And that sets a lot of bells off.
Right.
I think personally it would be better to put that first, since it's the most extreme option in my opinion, and I think it probably has the least broad appeal. I think that it might be best placed first in case there are enough people, there is a majority who support it, then it would pass. But then I feel like it would make more sense to. I think it would make the most sense to say, okay, this is the most extreme option to start a process of getting a new town seal, and if that doesn't have the support, then we could go for a less extreme option of a less significant change per se of using the old town CL, and then the least extreme option of doing nothing.
I understand the logical path that you're laying out here, but I think that just based on our charge, we need to first recommend if our recommendation is to adopt a new seal, so that should be the first.
Mhm.
So I don't think we can shuffle that around
Yeah, potentially we could merge though our two article
into just one, to adopt a new seal and replace it with,
Our committee recommends that we replace the current seal with the old seal, which is by extension the
are we
answer
able
to
to
it.
do that?
Yeah, that's our process.
Yeah,
So
I love
that
and
would
then if that's
actually,
voted down, then it automatically goes to the next one, which is,
Yeah.
okay, well, no, maybe we should remark, because
Yeah, you can't-
the first one is
If you
is, do you wanna change it, and then. do
Yeah,
wanna
you
change
have,
it
you
to
still have
this?
to do it, do you
Or
wanna
you're not
change
happy
it?
with that,
Right.
do you wanna go?
Right.
with
I think
that?
it-
No, you have to have a
I
do
think
you
the
wanna
do you
change
wanna
it
change
vote
it.
with nothing.
Just to be clean, to be
Yeah,
clear.
you have to have that first.
Okay.
And
Because-
then you can entertain the other pieces.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do you think, like to me, I feel like the 1913 seals could be a really attractive option to people who, on first glance, might say no to
Yes.
changing it.
right, that's what.
So I like the idea of combining 1 and 2 because it provides an alternative, like right at the start, that could be palatable to people who might otherwise be an absolute no to changing the seal.
I hear what you're saying. If we're allowed to do that, I would argue that we should consider
Well,
that. I'm not sure
John,
we're.
well, I remember from the last town meeting with the plastic bags thing, when they got up, in order to do the number 2, you had to do number 1. And it was very clear from the beginning, you're going to consider these 2 as, not as one, but that they are totally related. And it was explained that if you vote this way on the first one, that will then do this for the second one, and if you
Yes.
vote this. So I think this could be handled exactly the same way. If we hadn't just had that plastic
Yeah.
bag thing,
Right.
And we'd be,
I wouldn't, it wouldn't be in my brain, but it is that you can take it and say, all right, we're voting on this now, but understand that if we do this, here's what's gonna come up next, and this is what's gonna come up if you know.
and
And
John's,
so people know what the process is gonna be.
and John's very good at that, he would.
Yes,
make it
he's
very clear
excellent
to
at that,
people in the
and made it
audience.
very clear, and I think that if we took these one, just the very first vote is just yes or no, because you have to do that. But that people know that we have an option, if you say, yes, here's what we're recommending as a process, and that's to put the old seal back in place. So John's real good at that, but I think that plastic bag thing
Yeah.
set up that sort of pattern of if you do this, then the next warrant article is this, and if that happens, the third warrant article is related to these other 2.
Yeah,
Why don't we then table this discussion
Yeah.
until John gets here,
agreed.
next time? Okay, that's wonderful, excellent. Okay, so then at this point, we do need to take a formal vote, a second vote for some of you on the recommendation to change the seal. Procedurally, how does that work? Do we just collect the vote, or do we need to make a motion to take the vote?
I'd like to make a motion that we change the 1977 seal and that we replace the current 1977 seal.
Okay, does anybody second that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. So let's take a vote. Yes? Okay, all in favor, the decision is unanimous. Thank you very much.
That would also help.
I didn't know we were going to make a motion
To,
to adopt. That would, we follow,
I
that's
think
our
we should,
thought process.
Except should we wait until?
We should wait
just
until we
check
discuss
to make,
this
to go
with-
with John, to just check with John on that when he's
Yeah.
here, do you think?
Oh, I
Also,
we can do that.
Yeah, I think we can do it.
I would make a motion that.
to formally vote, yeah.
Yeah, I would make a motion that, since we have voted to
Also,
replace the 1977 seal, I make a motion that we replace it with the 1913 seal.
I'll
And,
second that motion. and then
okay, now
that's
we'll have
discussion.
discussion.
actually, yeah, I think that it should be clear that we are not voting on whether to replace it, we are voting on whether to propose to
Right.
the town.
Okay, you're right,
Replace.
okay,
Because-
I'll
It's-
amend
it's
my,
not-
I'll amend my motion,
Yeah.
we're voting,
What we are doing is not replacing the town sale, what we are doing is proposing to the town a plan.
That's right.
Right.
Okay,
A process of creating a new town seal.
okay, so why don't we vote on that motion, all in favor, or?
for the 1913.
Right,
So-
to the
so-
1913, yes.
So the motion is to recommend to the town to adopt the 1913 seal.
In place of the currency.
And to speak, let's vote on that first, then
Yes,
I
let's
want
vote- let's vote on that
I want to amend
first.
something I said then too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
what I'm not. Okay, looks like this is unanimous as well.
And I'd like to just amend my language also from the recommendation, the motion I made, that it should be recommended to the town also
Oh.
to replace the town
Okay.
seal. Okay, just thank you, you're right.
Uh,
Should we take another vote with that wording?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, we
Let's
just
take another vote.
So I make a motion to recommend, I make a motion recommending that we replace the 1977 town seal.
Well, we recommend that the town replace it.
That the town, that we,
It's late. It's late.
I make a recommendation that we will,
You make a motion.
I make a motion that we will recommend to the town meeting to replace the 1977 town seal.
With 1913.
Oh,
No,
we already voted on the.
We're still, okay,
This
we're
is the-
we're back to that one
Yeah.
now, okay,
Okay.
already,
We're
let's do that.
Okay, so
Anyone?
that's my motion.
Okay,
We have,
anybody-
can I have a second?
I second that.
Second,
We did.
okay,
I-
we
I
did
just
that, but we
amended it,
didn't.
that's all, but Jordan
Oh,
is
the
suggesting
language
that we
wasn't
just
great.
clarify the language.
He's just changing the
okay.
wording.
That's all.
Okay, let's
Yes.
take that vote. Okay, it looks like unanimously we're in
We're good.
favor. And then do I have a motion to recommend to the town to change the town seal from the 1977 to the 1913 version?
That is what we already.
We just-
Oh, we did-
We did that one.
You did the amendment to that as
He just
well?
rephrased
Yes.
his.
We just went back to square.
We went
okay,
back
to
to-
square one.
Just
We
wanted
did
to
the
reaffirm
reorganization.
We're all good. No, we're all good.
You did the first one.
We probably didn't need to do
We
the
probably
second,
didn't need
the
to.
second vote on that.
The only thing that I have for the agenda for the next meeting is wording of the warrants when John is here, but I'd also like to maybe take a final look at the report once all the edits are in.
No, I think we do need to.
So
do that.
once, so is anyone able to print that out, and once again, are you able to do that?
Yeah,
Could you
I'm happy to
bring
do
this in the clean version? Other than those two items, anything else that should go on the agenda for the next time?
Well, I actually am thinking, I'd like to make a motion actually that we recommend to the town, what was the exact wording of the third option,
Oh.
to the formation, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the town, authorizing the formation of a town seal design committee for the purpose of redesigning the current town seal. Since that's also going to go, since that's also something we are planning to put on, I make a motion that we recommend that as an option.
We short-circuited that though,
Oh, okay.
by choosing the 1913.
However, is it okay if I speak?
Go ahead.
Okay, however, what we can do in the agenda for our next meeting is have a discussion about that third proposal, which I think we were tacitly saying that we would do this, so we would address what your concern is and this committee can decide that. I was going to just bring that up also, that we also should at least think through what would be the process, because
Well, that would be the process if the town turned down the 1913 seal, because the second warrant will be to accept the 1913 town
Correct.
seal. If the town turns that down, then we need that third warrant to form a committee.
And then the question would be, and then my question is on this, to speak to Jordan's point,
What do we recommend?
what would be that process? So
right.
I think we need,
So we can discuss
I think we
that,
need to
yeah.
talk about that at the next meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so that should be on the agenda
Okay.
for next time, because that needs to be discussed. We haven't really talked about that.
Right.
But that could become a reality, and we should be ready to deal with that.
So Jordan, can you withdraw your motion?
I withdraw my motion.
Okay. all right,
Excellent.
okay.
Oh,
So I will send you these notes in the agenda
cool.
for the next
Yeah.
meeting, okay?
Yeah.
That's great. In that case, why don't we get our.
The hardest thing of the
calendars?
night, picking the date.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
So I should say that Thursday nights, or not Thursday nights, I'm sorry, Wednesday nights work better for me than Thursday nights.
Wednesdays and Thursdays are equally good for me.
Good, okay. Another Wednesday night in July, perhaps? Okay, yes.
I will be away from the 7th until the 18th.
So should we say July 6th then?
I'm
That
away.
works.
You're away, okay.
Should we?
We
check
really
with
want John, we
out?
need John here too, so.
Could we?
That's a Monday.
So the summer is kind of tricky, right? Because lots of us are traveling in the summer. And the town meeting is not until October.
Well,
No, the town meeting stuff needs to get done well
Yeah.
before October.
Right, well
Right.
before October, but maybe at the end of the summer.
Um,
can I ask?
It's gonna have to go before some committees, it
Can I
has
ask
to
a
be done, it has to be done by the
By
beginning
when?
of,
By when?
beginning of August.
What do you have next
Oh,
week?
wow.
How about next Wednesday?
I'm away next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday? No?
Next one.
Wednesday does work for me.
The 29th, would the
Yeah.
29th work?
I'm away.
Yeah, I'm
You're
going.
away. Okay.
Do we have enough?
Is there another day next, I was just gonna suggest, is there another day next week that would work?
I'm gone the whole week.
You're gone the whole
That's
week?
Monday,
fine with me.
Tuesday, I'm teaching in the evening, and then Wednesday through the weekend, I'm gone, whoops.
Okay. Okay.
When are you leaving?
The seventh.
Oh, the 7th.
How about July 6th?
I'm
You're
gone.
still gone?
Yeah.
How many of us are here for the July 6th? So, okay, do you want to
Would you
just?
be okay
Yeah,
with
that's
that?
fine.
Okay, is that okay with you? And one, I can certainly take
Okay,
minutes.
sure.
Okay, so why don't we say July 6th?
We'll try to get it here.
We have to make sure that John's here though, because we really need him.
Do we want to meet a little earlier in the evening, since Ian is not here with the constraint?
Yeah. My work is usually noon to 8,
Okay,
so I could probably make it earlier, but this time works better for me.
okay, sounds good. So
that's-
7:30?
Yeah,
July 6th at 7:30. All right,
and you're gonna text John, see if he's around?
Yeah, he got stuck and he couldn't get a flight back today.
our flight got rescheduled.
His
so
flight got
it's-
rescheduled. so that was not-
The rest should be fine.
Scheduled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, can I have a motion to adjourn
So
the
moved.
meeting? Can I have anyone to second the motion?
I'll second.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much,
We have to
everyone.
vote. All those in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's late.
See, I'm, yes, in favor.
Technicality. Technicality.